Thero and Sarnai. Let's begin then. Let us all take a moment to bring our palms together, to make our veneration to the Buddha, reminding ourselves that he is the supreme teacher, he who discovered the Dhamma on his own, with no support, no help, no assistance. It was his sheer merit, resolve, determination, and the power of the paramitas that helped him to uncover what had been left covered for many yawns, and since the passing away of the previous Buddha. And once it was revealed, it was opened up to all of us out of his grace, out of compassion, out of the sheer magnitude of his loving kindness towards all sentient beings. So as we bring our palms together, let us take this opportunity to be grateful for his immense sacrifice for one and all. He was a father who saw all of us as his own children, and a mother who saw all of us as their own children. And on this occasion, let us also remind ourselves that this is not a mere token of our appreciation or respect towards the Buddha, but also a pledge of allegiance that we take to walk this path to liberation. May all our efforts from here on guide us to the noble bliss, to the ultimate truth, to free ourselves from all suffering once and for all. And it is with that idea, with that thought in mind, we make our veneration to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. They shall be my only refuge, and we will take on the precepts which will help us and guide us on our path to liberation. And once we've done that, let us embark on another step on this journey to understanding the profound truths proclaimed by the Buddha and today available to all mankind. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Do we remember what we talked about last week? Or have you forgotten that last week even happened? Are your lives so busy that you only live in the presence? No time to worry about yesterday, no time to fear tomorrow. So busy in the present. Is life hectic? Does it feel like that sometimes? Life is hectic? It does, doesn't it? Certainly does feel like that. But there's good news and then there's bad news. Which one do you want first? The bad news? Okay. I've already said the bad news. Life feels hectic. The good news is, life feels hectic. What? I've just repeated the same sentence. I only repeated the same sentence, but the emphasis was very different, wasn't it? With the first sentence we said, life feels hectic. Life feels hectic. Hectic. That's the bad news. What's the good news? Life feels hectic. What does that mean? It only feels hectic. See, it doesn't matter whether you are the busiest person in the world or someone who just spends the day just lying around doing nothing at all. You can only be the same amount of busy. In absolute terms and in real terms, Actually, in real terms, you can't be any busier than anyone else. But it doesn't feel like that. You feel like you are very busy. Now, if I ask you to give me a show of hands, if you're very busy, if you consider yourself to be someone very busy, I think more than half of this room will put their hand up. And it doesn't matter what you do. You could be a professional, you could be a mother, you could be a father, right? Maybe you're a housewife, and you can still consider yourself to be very busy. Some people think that housewives have it easy. Try being one, eh? So it doesn't matter what you do. And it doesn't matter what your profession is either. Maybe your job is to run a company. And the moment I say run a company, it sounds like, well, that must be a very busy thing to do. Or I'll say, well, your job is to be a mother, look after a kid, just one kid. Well, that can't be busy, surely. You don't know until you've done it. I can hear the mothers say. So we are all very busy. I think it's fair to say that we all feel that we are busy. And there are times we don't feel that busy. Now think about that for a moment actually. Let's say you consider yourself to have the busiest job in the world, whatever that job is, right? So I'm not going to name a particular job because that would be wrong. But let's say we are all very busy and whatever that job is, that is the job you're doing right now, okay? Are there times you don't feel that busy? You don't feel that busy. So let's say you're taking a break. Maybe it's the weekend and you've just gone out with some friends. You're sitting around the dinner table, having some dinner, having a bit of a chit-chat, catching up on things. At that moment, you don't feel that busy. But that's not to say that all that work that's left to do, that's left undone, still has to get done. Now, I have my own experience from when we used to take time out from work. And I used to collect all my holiday and then come here to Sri Lanka to see my family, friends and all that. And so while I was here, I knew that work was piling up. So my boss was waiting for me to get back. So when I got back after, I think the longest we could take was about a month. So if I was away for a month, by the time I got back, my inbox, I would have for the next couple of weeks an unsurmountable amount of work to get through. So much so it felt like going on holiday was actually a bad idea. Am I the only one in the room who goes through this? Thank you. So, but while I was on holiday and I was going out, being with friends, right? Doing things that people do while they're on holiday, it didn't feel busy. It felt very leisurely. I was laughing, I was singing, dancing, enjoying myself, going to the movies, spending time with family, and it really didn't feel busy at all. But all that work was piling up. The only thing that didn't happen was I wasn't thinking about my work. That didn't mean that the work was piling up. So many projects were being initiated and they were waiting for me to get back. And no sooner than I'd stepped into the office, people had sent in meeting invites, and as soon as I picked up my coffee, I was in a meeting room, and one after the other, and soon I started regretting going on holiday. Because it wasn't that busy, it was actually at work. So it was kind of like they were taking revenge. Everyone else at the office, because they were stuck at the office, I was out, so they were avenging that. And they didn't like the idea that one of us was taking time off, and the rest of us had to do all the work. So that was what life used to be like. So what was busy? What does it mean to be busy? Because busyness strikes you. The truth is though, there can only be one chitta at once. So this is like a road that only has one lane. What's the busiest a road that has only one lane can be? It can only have the amount of cars that it can have on that lane, right? I'm not talking about a breakdown. Just imagine that there's this road on which cars never break down and everything's traveling at the same speed. So it's a constant speed, right? These vehicles, as they enter, traffic as it enters, it travels at a constant speed, okay? Imaginary road. They can't go any faster, they can't go any slower, and no breakdowns. So how busy is this road going to be? But it's just constantly going to be vehicles. That's all it's going to be. I mean, that's what a road is made for. What's the point of having a road on which no vehicles travel? That's not a road. That's a deserted land. Yeah? So a road is where vehicles travel, people travel, and it's only as useful as the number of vehicles you have on there. And if it's only a single-laned road, then you can only have one lane of traffic. And if the traffic never goes slower or any faster than it does all the time, and there are never any breakdowns, then do you have any problem there? There are no problems. There is no problem. But, however, if say someone slows down, or say there's a breakdown, or someone thinks it's a multi-lane road, like it happens sometimes. Like when you have one-ways and people think that no, on the day that they decide to drive, it can be two-way traffic. Drivers, you know what I'm talking about. And then you ask them, who gave you a license? It doesn't sound the same when you say it in English. Isn't it? Kauda? Thammasara? It doesn't have the same effect. You know? Yeah, it sounds very impactful. You may remember how you unwound your window and swirled those insults at people. When it was only a single lane road and there were people trying to overtake you, as well as when it was only a one lane road and people coming in the opposite direction. So that's when you feel like things are just becoming chaotic. It's mayhem. Otherwise, peace. It's always peace. Now, why do people like to drive on the motorways? People prefer, when there's a highway, now when the highways were built, that people chose to, when they went on wherever, as long as the toll charge was worth it, people would use the highway, right? So why do people prefer the highway? Because there's more discipline. That's what they say. There's more discipline in that everyone has to conform to a minimum speed, right? And you can't have bullock carts and bicycles and rickshaws and cows and you can't have cattle going across the street, right? So you don't have any of that. You can't have shops that people pull up to and to, get their refreshments or whatever. You don't have that. So it's just, that's it. It's a clear road, which means as long as there's no breakdown, you can just travel freely. That's why people like to drive on the highway. Your mind is a highway. Your mind is a highway. You can't think any faster than anyone else in this room. So you might think, well, I thought I was smarter than everybody else. I can think quickly and come to a decision quickly. I can analyze a lot of information very quickly. No, that's not a chitta that's doing that. That's not a chitta that's doing that. You have multiple chittas all aligned to the same purpose. That means you're able to compute information quicker. But each chitta, if you consider it individually, it has the same capacity. It runs at the same speed. It can bear the same amount of data. Right? So each chitta is the same. It's identical. So you can't also have two passengers in one and the same. Imagine there was a vehicle that could only take one passenger. You can't have, it's only the driver. Your chittas are the same. You can only take one object at once. So you can't think and see at the same time. So when you're drawing something, that's a lot of chittas. So which one of these two individuals do you think has more chittas going through their mind? Right? I'll name two people. One, they're giving a talk, just like I'm doing right now. Then there's another one who's asleep. They're just sleeping. And they're not dreaming at that stage either. Who's thinking faster? Surely it's got to be me who's doing the talk. Am I thinking faster? No. Because your mind does not run any faster than anyone else. It has a constant speed. They arise and pass away. Vipaka, the consumption of vipaka happens at the same rate, ladies and gentlemen. So you can't do anything any faster than anyone else. What happens though is that each chitta can be focused on one objective. So it's a bit like this. If I bring you this, you extend the same analogy. Say there were some bricks that we had to shift from one place to another. Okay? And there were some people. So you have to shift this over there. One person carries one brick at a time. And they take it over there. Two people then can do what? Carry two bricks at a time? No, still one brick at a time. And no one person can carry more than one brick at a time. So these are the fundamental rules of the mind. One person can only carry one brick at a time. So in fact, if there was only one person here, they'd have to go there and return to grab another brick. They cannot carry two bricks at a time. Your mind is the same. So when you feel like you're doing a lot or you're thinking faster, here's what's going on in comparison to someone else, right? Let's say there's another person, they take their time, right? It takes them a long time to process something. What's going on there is this individual, the moment he takes a brick, transfers it, comes back, and without fail takes another brick and goes there, drops it, without fail, comes back, takes another brick, and he does it relentlessly. There's never a time where he goes without a brick. Whereas here, the other person who you think does not do things as fast as you can, or does not think something as fast as you can, does not have the mental capacity you might think to do something as fast as you can. You might even say they're not as intelligent as me. What's going on there is, they also have bricks. Now, what they do is they come, they take a brick, and they take it across and leave it there. When they go the next time, do they go without a brick? These are objects. You can't go without a brick. They take something else with them. Now, to really help you make sense of this, let's say there were red bricks. It's the red bricks that we want to transport. Okay? Here as well, they have red bricks and just plain bricks. Okay? What this guy does, is every time he goes, he takes a red brick. Every time he goes, he takes a red brick. That's the red brick. That's when you say he has focus. So the red bricks are transported very quickly. That doesn't mean these are any less bricks. They are also bricks, only they're not the red bricks. That's what happens with this person. Because they can't focus, this is what to focus actually means. Because they can't focus, or they have less of a capacity to focus, what happens, ladies and gentlemen, is they take a red brick and then they go take the plain bricks. But they both travel at the same rate. That's why I'm saying, you can't think any faster than anyone else. By thinking, I mean here the speed that they travel between destination and source. You can't think any faster than anyone else. But when you think that someone is actually thinking faster than you, what's really going on is that they're focusing better, meaning they're picking up the right kind of brick. So if you give someone a math problem, for instance, okay, now, shall I test your math? Some people in this room will have worked it out just like that. Others are still trying to read the numbers. So those who can do this, mental math, right, just like that, they'll say they're very good at math. That doesn't mean they're very good at thinking. They're good at math, meaning actually they're good at focusing on numbers and making sense of numbers. But it doesn't mean you can think any faster than anybody else. Because thinking happens at the same rate for everyone. So, when you look at this, so let's take on this side of the room we have the mathematicians, on this side of the room we have the... Got to be careful now. The non-mathematicians. So the mathematicians in the room will look at this and they will, each of these, so this chitta will be working on these numbers constantly. One after the other, these chittas will be focusing on the numbers. Whereas those who are not great mathematicians, meaning they are not very good with numbers, it's not that they look at this and then they just lose the plot. What happens is they look at this and then they think about something else. Your mind wanders. It starts to think about, numbers, I don't like numbers. Now you're actually, instead of thinking about the numbers, you're thinking about your emotional reaction to numbers. That's what takes up your thought cycles. Whereas if you stop doing that and just focus on the numbers, you'd be as good as the mathematicians. So there's this inherent like and dislike for numbers. There are those who like numbers, there are those who don't like numbers. That's the point here. So when you don't like numbers, you look at this and you go, oh no. By that point, the person who likes numbers, they've already worked it out. That's what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. So you can't think any faster or slower than anyone else. Even in that regard, you're identical. Because a chitta is a chitta is a chitta. So then what makes you think that you're busy? Now when you look at this, let's take this situation. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? At any point you can only carry one brick. Can you ever carry more than one? You can't. So it's going to take you how many chittas to get the red bricks across? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? When you feel busy, you imagine a future. You create a future in your mind. So I want you to understand life. That's what we're here for. Through the Dhamma, what are we here to learn? Life. Because I know that you don't go live the Dhamma. What do you live? Life. You want a happy life, don't you? You don't want a good sermon. What's the point of having a good sermon? If it doesn't, this is a means to an end. I don't expect you to be here every day until the end of your lives. I expect you to be here until your lives are happy. When the day you feel that your lives are fulfilled, you're content, you're blissful, don't come back. You can, and you can sit here. And you can relieve me of this responsibility. So we are not here for the Dhamma. Get that out of your head in case you thought that you were coming here to learn some Dhamma. This is not a Dhammapada. This is a Jivitapada. This is a school for life. Now, maybe not a school for life, but a school of life. The school of life. Hopefully not for life. Meaning, I hope that you will learn these sooner rather than later. And you will not have the need to keep coming back. Like I always say, if you go to a doctor and the doctor says, "Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon." I don't trust that doctor. Because a doctor is not someone who should have to say, "Thank you for coming, see you soon." That's not a wish you would want from a doctor, right? Because you don't go back to the doctor unless you're ill again, sick again. In the same vein, ladies and gentlemen, I see, in my mind, I see an end for all of you. You're an end for a need to come to these sermons. It has to be so. Let's say you continue to listen to the sermons, you become a monk or you become an anagarika, you become a nun, whoever, and then you practice the path, you become a sotapanna, sakruddhagami, anagami, you become a rahatan vahanse, and you still like, well, you can't say you like the Dhamma, but let's say it has become a part of your habit. And so you come along to the sermons. But if the Dhamma has actually done something to you, then you won't come back after you're dead. Will you? What do I mean by that? Meaning you will have become an arahant and passed into parinibbana. So you won't come back for the Dhamma again. Because the Dhamma has done what it's supposed to do. This is not like water for the thirsty. This is not water for the thirsty. Because water cannot cure thirst. It can only be a temporary relief for thirst. This is not food for the hungry. It's not. Because food cannot cure hunger. It's not a cure for hunger, is it? Food? It's only relief for hunger. So this is not paracetamol, which is a pain relief. It's not that. The Dhamma is here to cure you. Along the way you will feel relief, and that's good, but that's not what you're here for. The ultimate goal is a day where you feel no need for the Dhamma. Right now you feel it very strongly. That's how people go through this cycle. Or at least there are two phases in life where you feel the same way about the Dhamma. The first time is when you have not heard the Dhamma. Then you don't feel like you have a need for the Dhamma. I was there myself. What Dhamma meant? That's how I used to think about it. Because what did we have? The TV, friends, food, entertainment, music, songs, dance, all of these trips, parties, vehicles, material possessions, money, jobs, job satisfaction, climbing up the career ladder, children. All of these were the things that kept us happy. Did you need the Dhamma? No, to heck with the Dhamma. When we were too young to have the Dhamma, weren't we? How old should you be before you listen to the Dhamma? At what age do you qualify? Before you listen to the Dhamma, how old should you be? What's the minimum age to listen to the Dhamma? Not before you're 18, right? That's what most people think. Actually, it's not 18, it's A. Not 18, A? A? Huh? Not like this. That's when people feel, yes, now's the time for that. Go to a temple. In your average temple, your village temple, just go go on a Poya day and have a look at what you see there. There'll be a Swamin Vahanse who will be preaching. Then there'll be a lot of people who will be leaning against walls. The Swamin Vahanse will be preaching his heart out, and people will be sleeping there. They'll be sleeping, they'll be drooling. Because that's the time to introduce yourself to the Dhamma. Not at 18, that's too early. You don't need the Dhamma at that stage in your life. So I don't know why you bring your children to spend time with Sudasihandru. You're crazy. You lot are crazy. You should wait until, things get worse. Things get uncontrollable. They get out of hand, right? And you should wait until you're truly disappointed with life and you're hopeless. And everyone starts to leave you. And you realize that they were only there for the money. Huh? And you realize that they were only there for the looks. You realize that they were only there because you could cook for them, feed them, wash for them, right? And now they can't do any of those things. They have started to leave you. You should wait until then. When you are desolate, you should wait for that. That's the time to listen to the Dhamma. Surely. Many of you in the room are still too young. Out. Today is a Sunday. It's a weekend. What are you doing here? You should wait until it's too late. And then it's too little too late. I pity people. Most people, they can't see that there is something greater, something bigger, something more important that they have to do with their lives. It's just such a pity. If you're still on the young side of life, which is all of you, okay? All of you, if you still consider that you are still on the young side of life, and you still feel that you should spend your Sundays here, you are a very special kind of person. That itself qualifies. You are a very special kind of person. You think very differently to 99% of the world's population. I could even go as far as saying 99% of the Buddhist population. I would not be very, very wrong to say that. Most people only go to the temple on a Poya day. If that. I used to go once a year because I had to. Because someone would drag me to the temple. Buddha Saranam Gacchami was not my mantra. It was more like science Saranam Gacchami. Technology Saranam Gacchami. TV Saranam Gacchami. That was what life was for me. And then that got replaced by, as life goes on, our goals and ambitions change. And then there was a point where it was money I wanted in life. So when Rupee Saranam Gacchami didn't work out, then it was going to be Pound Saranam Gacchami. That was the point. I was considering whether it was going to be dollar Saranam Gacchami or Pound Saranam Gacchami. In the end, my parents decided that it was going to be Pound Saranam Gacchami. That was where life was going to take me. Then it came to a point where I decided that, I couldn't live my life alone. So it was wife Saranam Gacchami. Had to be that. Am I the only one? Does this sound like an old song that you've heard many times before? Maybe one that you even used to sing? Yeah. So then I came across a Dhamma. When I used to go to Dhamma school, when I was young, I used to go to Dhamma school. I think I shared this story with you once. I was very good at the Dhamma. So I learned a lot of Dhamma and I was very, very well versed with the Dhamma. So I remember I was given this book called A Compendium of Abhidhamma or something by the Venerable Narada Thero. I loved that book. I read it page to page, leaf to leaf, because I thought that when I'm well versed with the Abhidhamma, right, if I know my Abhidhamma back to front, right, then I will have found my spiritual liberation. So I started studying the Chittas, the Chaitasikas, the Rupas, the Nibbāna, right, all the Paramatma Dhammas, and how there was dependent origination and all of that, how the chittas were formed, and without any of, not in this way, but what was there in the books. And because I had this idea in my mind that the more Abhidhamma you know, the more saintish you are, I felt like a little halo over my head. So I walked like that. I talked like that. Like I was better than everyone else. It's very embarrassing to share these stories, but today I realized that I'm not talking about myself. Therefore, I can speak freely. I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about what happened to a mind. So I can speak freely about a past that wasn't mine. It was just a past. That's the beauty of the Dhamma. You can talk about things that happened to you. Remember one of those days I said, there may be people here who have been affected by many, many social issues, like even rape, right? But you can't pick up the courage to come and talk about it, because every time you speak up, you feel like you're talking about something that happened to you. Right? And the only relief, the only solution there is to help people to realize that it wasn't something that happened to you, it was just an event. Yeah? So this is what the Dhamma has helped me do. Simply look at the past as a series of events with no connection to me. They were not things that happened to me. Just like that was just an event, not something that happened to me. I can talk about a past. I will say it was my past because that is convention. So there was a time where I used to study the Dhamma, I used to talk the Dhamma, and in my class, people, they respected me for all the Dhamma that I knew. I didn't talk much with people because I thought if you know the Dhamma, then you have to be very quiet. Because you had to show that you were very tranquil, right? You were very serene, right? So I was acting. I was a quasi-arahant. There you go. But then I met Guru Andhra. And then, instead of teaching me the Dhamma, he taught me life. That's when everything changed. At home I had this library, all Dhamma books. And you ask me any question from any of those books, I always had the answers. Because I thought that was what the Buddha's job was, to come and preach the Dhamma to the world. And so it was our job to learn the Dhamma. Unbeknown to me, I had become another Podila. But ever since the Dhamma actually began to do something for me inside, this internal transformation that I have been experiencing since I found my teacher, I realized the Dhamma is not a salvation. The Dhamma is merely, it just shows the path. When you want to get somewhere, you don't need the brightest light. You don't need the brightest torch that can light up the path from here for kilometers on. What's the point? What's the point? If all you're going to take is another 2 steps, right? If 1 step is all you're going to take, then that's as far as you need to see. At best 2 steps, because then you need to know where you can place the next step. But what's the point in being able to see for kilometers on? The more you study the Dhamma, the more you know how it's going to feel just before you become an Arahant, and how an Arahant is going to feel. And there's a huge risk in actually knowing that, because once you study that, you kind of like load it into your mind, and then you start to take on this persona of an Arahant, of someone who has understood the Dhamma, and then even, you can be fooled. You can be fooled to think that, yes, well, I get the Dhamma. It has done what it's supposed to do. And that was the time in my life where I considered going vegetarian. Because I thought that's what all good Buddhists must do. This is nothing against or for or against vegetarianism. If that is your choosing, then please, do as you wish. But later on I realized that the Buddha's instructions was not to become a vegetarian. His instructions was not to kill. Nothing to do with being vegetarian. But I wanted to show that I was a good Buddhist. It was part of the marketing, the advertisement, part of the show. So I remember the day I came home and I said, Amma, you eat your fish and your meat and all that, not me. I'm a good, what am I? A good Buddhist. Unlike you, Lord. The funny thing is though, so I could maintain this character for a while, right? But her cooking got better. And there were those days where she would cook the most aromatic dishes. Smelled so nice. Surely. Even a good Buddhist. But I wouldn't tell anyone. So when everyone else was in the living room, doing their own thing, this good Buddhist would walk into the kitchen. And let's just say, some pieces went missing. I don't know whether my mom ever got wind of this. Even if she, I today feel maybe she did. I never asked her actually, I should ask her. Next time I talk to her, I should ask her, did you know that, something fishy was going on? Pardon the pun. I should ask her. But even, perhaps she'd known, but she just kept quiet, being the mother that she was. Maybe she didn't want to burst my bubble. She wanted me to live in this, with my halo on my head. Like the naked emperor. Yeah, so I was like that. There was a part of my life that was like that. But if you ask me, I was a vegetarian. Then there are some who are vegetarians on poor days. That's how I started. On a poor day, I had to be vegetarian. Once again, this is not a criticism towards anyone who has chosen that as a lifestyle. Okay, so you must do what makes you feel comfortable. I'm just giving you a slice of what I was like when I thought I was a good Buddhist. I'm not suggesting for one moment that you are like that. What I'm saying is I had a period in my life where I was all just a show. It was just a pretense. Because I had learned the Dhamma, I hadn't studied life. I had become a good student of the Dhamma, not a good student of life. To say one thing but to do something else. If you have really understood the Dhamma, and actually the Dhamma has made a change to your life, then you should be able to speak what you think and do what you say. That's a very good test. Another good test is ask yourself whether your conscience agrees with your actions. It's a very simple test, but it's a very powerful test nonetheless. Very powerful test. Does your conscience agree with your actions? Because your conscience is aware of your intentions, isn't it? Isn't it? Your conscience is well aware of your intentions. The outcomes of your actions, your conscience doesn't care about. But the intentions of your actions, after all, that is what your conscience is, It's the intention of your actions, the intention of your speech, the intention of your thoughts, your intentions, that's your conscience. So I'm saying there was a time where I knew a lot of Dhamma, but my conscience did not agree with my actions. But I didn't know the way out of it because I wanted to be a good Buddhist. See, this is the thing. You can't fault me partly because deep down, what did I want to be? I wanted to be a good Buddhist. So it wasn't just a whim and a fancy. I actually went and studied the Dhamma. I read the books. I went to Dhamma school. I went through it page by page. I took the exams because I wanted to be a good Buddhist and I thought being a Buddhist was about learning the Dhamma. So I did that. But nothing happened with my defilements. Nothing happened to my ego. Nothing happened to my desire. Nothing happened with my aversion. Nothing happened with my delusions. Nothing. Greed was still there. Jealousy was still there. Anger was still there. Resentment was still there. All of those things were still there. Bags full of them. But I knew the Dhamma. I knew the kind of chittas that would run through the mind of someone who was free of desire. I knew it. I had knowledge, not wisdom. I had knowledge. I was knowledgeable. If you ask me what are the chittas that run through the mind of someone who is free of greed, I could tell you. If you'd ask me what were the chittas that have been eliminated permanently from someone who has escaped the 4 great hells, I could tell you. There are 4 chittas that would never arise in those minds. I could name them. But that's the best I could do. I failed at becoming a living, breathing testimony. I knew. I was no better than the book. That's all I was. I was just another book. So you could either pick a book up from the library and read it, or you could ask me. That's all I was. I'm very happy that I can relate these stories to you without a modicum of embarrassment. That is an offering I make right at this moment to my teacher. I can relate this story to you about my life without a modicum of embarrassment because I know it is not I speak of. These were events that happened in a life that I can share with you so that we can take lessons from it. So that you don't fall into the same pit. You're not ensnared by the same traps. So that your trips here is not for the Dhamma. It's to learn life. Back to this. This teaching is to help you learn life. When you feel that you're busy, you must understand, ladies and gentlemen, that you only feel busy. That feeling of busyness comes when you project yourself to the future. When you stand here and you look at all of these things that you have to do, and you have a future in which all of these things have to be done. See, here's the thing. When you actually start doing these things, you're not going to do it all at once, right? Now, I'm trying to get a point across to you. See if you can catch it. When you actually get to doing this, right? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah? When you actually get to doing it, doing what? Transporting these over to the other side, you will only do it one at a time, right? But when you think about doing it, exactly. When you actually think about doing it now, you're in the now, this is in the future. So this will happen at T1. This happens at T2. T meaning at point in time 3, at point in time 4. So they're not going to happen at the same time. But when you think about it, you think about all of it right now, which means it feels like such a burden. So when you carry it, you only feel the weight of one box or one brick. If this was what? Say 10 kilos? You only feel the weight of one brick, which is 10 kilos. But when you think about it, what's the weight of that? 40 kilos. That's why the future feels so burdensome. That's why it feels so busy. See, you have to do all these things. Who has to do all these things? I have to do all these things. Says who? Says the Chitta that's actually not going to be doing any of these things. He's the one who's still planning. This guy's just planning. They're not actually going to be doing any of the work. It's like the project managers. I can skate them because I used to be one. So, just like the planners, they don't do the work. They plan. But at that stage, you feel the weight of 4 whole bricks, 40 kilos. Whereas the worker chitta will only feel 1 brick. That's why as you start going through a piece of work and it gets towards the end, you feel lighter. So when you're here, you feel, oh my gosh, I have to do all this? And then you start. And then by the time you have done 2 or 3, then just 1 more to go. Now you don't feel that burden anymore. I want you to know what's going on in your mind. So that when you're in this situation, apply the Dhamma. Apply the Dhamma. Ask yourself why you feel that way. Because this is a burden that is unnecessary for you to carry. The burden of the future is an unnecessary burden. Always, always, always. That's why sometimes when people are diagnosed of a terminal illness, right? Let's say they're given 6 months to live. When do they start suffering? When? No. They're already dead. See? That's why the Buddha says, Pamado machuno pada. To loosely translate this stanza, it means to be late is to be dead. But pamada is not necessarily just late. That is one meaning of the word. But pamada is to do this. Is to create an aggregate. Is to create a sense of self out of a thought. When that happens, you are as good as dead. See how many people who they know that they have a terminal illness and they have 6 months left. Maybe the doctor might say, actually, it could be longer, but we estimate about 6 months. Some people are dead already. But in that 6 months, there's so much they could do. Perhaps there's so much they would have done had they not been told that they only had 6 months left. That's going to be 6 months worth of human life wasted if you begin to live in that future. So this sense of self, it projects a future for you. And in that future, ladies and gentlemen, you get lost. That's why when you feel that you are busy, right? So over the course of life, today, tomorrow, next week, which day of the week do you like best? Monday or Friday? Don't you call it the Friday feeling? Well, it depends on which day of the week your week starts, right? For some people, it matters not. So if you work the 7 days across the week, right, equally busy, then it doesn't matter. But typically, for Monday to Friday workers, Fridays, there's a special something about Friday, right? Isn't there? And then you have the Monday feeling. Because there's a whole week ahead of you. See, this is the way that people punish themselves. It's not the boss that does that. It's not your boss that makes your life difficult for you at the workplace. You do it. He's the one who's given you a job. You asked, you applied for it. You didn't want it, why did you bother applying for it? And if your boss ever tells you to do more than one thing in one chitta, bring them to me and I'll talk to them. Because that would be very unfair. I'll tear them a new page. Right? Bring them to me. If they ever ask you to do more than one thing in one chitta, they say, no, that's not good. You have to do two things in the same chitta. You have to type and read at the same time. You have to answer my call, you have to talk to me on the phone, and you have to write the report at the same time. Or you have to manage your co-workers and do their things and file this report at the same time. If they ask you to do two things in the same chitta, bring them to me and I'll have a word with them. But the truth is, they would never get you to do that. They would never ask you to do such a thing. Because they don't even know about chittas. So they won't ask you to do that anyway. But that's besides the point, you know what I mean. You can only ever do one thing in one chitta. That's why I say, the person who you think is the busiest man in the world, shall we say, name someone? Elon Musk? Everyone's favorite name. Okay. So busiest man in the world, and take someone who doesn't do much at all. They just sit on their hands all day long, just idling. And when they're hungry, they get up, they eat something, and they go back to sleep. And that's all they do. I'm not talking about your husband, okay? Or your sons. Just saying, I just imagine someone who doesn't do much at all. Right? These two individuals, their chittas run at identical speeds. They are identical. They run at the same speed. One chitta, you could superimpose one on the other perfectly. Chitta after chitta after chitta after chitta. Perfectly, it's in sync. So why does the person who thinks he's busy think he's busy? Because in these chittas, there's jati. There's jati. And when jati occurs, a timeline comes into the forefront of your mind. This is what we touched on last week, and I have a few things I've brought with me today. I'll help you better understand this concept. But this is a very practical example of what we're going to talk about. Whenever you feel you're busy, ladies and gentlemen, that is your own making, that is your own punishment. No one is responsible for that feeling of busyness. No one has ever gotten you to do more than what your mind can do. Never. Even when you feel like you are singing and dancing at the same time. Right? That's not singing and dancing at the same time. The best you can do is one chitta sings, the next chitta dances. The next chitta sings, the next chitta dances. The next chitta sings, the next chitta dances. That's the best you can do. You can never do them both on the same chitta. Because, although you think that you are these human beings who are going to be alive for the next however many years, actually that's just a story. That's why last week I suggested to you that you are nothing more than a story. The truth isn't that. The truth is that this is all you are right now. You're just a chitta. Granted, these chittas, they run very rapidly. But that doesn't mean that if you froze time, right? If you said, halt, stop, freeze, we'd find you in one of these. That's it. We wouldn't find you in one of these. We wouldn't find you in one of these. We'd just find you in one of these. Just one of these. Chittas that would have risen in the past would have passed away. Chittas that are yet to arise will not be there. So you are just a chitta. And you need to come to terms with that. Whether you like it or not, you need to come to terms with that. So if you are just a chitta, what is your child? What's your child? It's just a chitta. Your best friend? Chitta. Your husband? Your wife? Your mother? Your father? Your siblings? What are they? Just chittas. Then why do you feel that they are more than that? If they're just chittas, like now you are saying that, just a chitta, Swami, just a chitta. Husband, just a chitta. Huh? My wife is just a chitta. Huh? If there's only just a chitta, well, what's keeping you at home then? Why can't you give me your son? If it's just a chitta. Why can't you let your daughter go become an anagarika if she's just a chitta? The person sat next to you, say, you only meet them at Rajagiriya, right? You've gotten to know them at Rajagiriya, and he says, I've decided Swaminathan is right. I'm going to become a Swaminathan. I'm going to become an anagarika. What would you say? Congratulations. I'm glad that at least one of us has understood the Dhamma, and that you have made a life-transforming change. It is something that I've always wanted to do, but I've never been able to do. I congratulate you wholeheartedly. You would say that as long as that's not your son. Because he or she is just a chitta. Whereas your son has not just a chitta. So in this world, there are chittas and then there are people that I like, right? Yeah, that's what the Buddha said, yes. There are chittas and then there are people. Everyone who's not related to me is a chitta. Yes, I know. Everyone who's not related to you. What about your debtor? Someone who owes you some money. Just a chitta. So he says, I'm sorry, I owe you all this money, but I've decided to go to robes. Right? I know there's a 10 million I owe you, but I've decided to go into robes and, see how it's like. Right? So just thought, perhaps you can just write it off. Yeah? What would you say? Just a chitta, of course. There you go. Besides, you're not the one who borrowed it from me anyway. That chitta passed away. Huh? This chitta is not responsible for that, right? That chitta borrowed the money. This chitta is not responsible for that. So you can go to robes, that's fine. Would you? That's the thing. You find it difficult to apply the Dhamma. That's your problem. That is perhaps the biggest difference between you and me. You struggle to apply the Dhamma. It's like addition, but given a sum, you struggle to work it. It's the same principle. You know the Dhamma, but you struggle to apply it. As in when the defilements take over your heart, when the dark veil of ignorance takes over and engulfs your heart meaning mind, right? Then you feel like the Dhamma forsakes you. Then the Dhamma is lost. But when you're happy, when you're in a good mood, like you're on Sunday mornings, when you're in a good mood, oh yeah, the Dhamma makes sense, everyone is just a chitta. But when something strikes, something hurts you. Agreed? Yes. When someone says something and it hurts you, if someone annoys you, if you feel like something that is of yours is lost, maybe something precious, it's lost, and now you're turning the house upside down trying to find it. Why can't you just go, just patavi? Just a chitta. You can't do that. Because you create this sense of self and it completely consumes you. So that is the gap, ladies and gentlemen, that we have to somehow, what's the word? What do you do with the gap? Leap? Bridge, thank you, yes. That's the gap we have to bridge. That's the gap we have to bridge. That's why I say I don't want this just to be a Dhamma school. It has to be a school of life. You need to walk away out of this room equipped with the ability, the skill to apply the Dhamma. Otherwise, the Dhamma has done nothing to you and nothing for you. It's like money in the bank. What good is it to you? Money in the bank is acquiring interest, yes, but what good is it to you? The only time money becomes useful is when? When you withdraw it. But where do you like to keep your money? Ask your great-great-great-grandmother. She put it under her pillow. Your great-grandmother put it in her hat tail. Then your grandmother, she had this rural bank, like little community bank thing, and they kept it there. Then your mother, by that point they had banks. Then she put it into a savings account. Now you have it in a fixed deposit. So the bank keeps your money and you feel like it's your money, don't you? Don't you all feel that way? I really loved that feeling myself. I remember waking up, like at least once a week I would check my bank balance. It gives me such joy. Because I had those investments right in the stock markets and the shares and Bitcoins and all that stuff going on, and they were all feeding into my bank account. So every morning, nothing would give me so much pleasure than to open my account, go into my phone and see how many digits had been added. How many orders of magnitude that sum had gone up by. Nothing gave me more pleasure than that. All the while I was thinking that was my money. But the bank was making every profit with all that money. Little did I know that I had become the bank slave. I was working for the bank. This was before I worked for the bank. And they said they were paying me interest, but where was that interest going? That was also accruing in the bank. What would they have done? At the end of every month, they should have sent me something, like maybe a meal or a hamper. That's what a good bank should do. But what were they doing with the interest? It was also accruing rather, in the bank. So what good was it doing to me? The only good it did to me was they sent me a bank statement saying your wealth had shot up by this much. And they sent it in nice flashy graphs and reports that looked like my finances were doing very well and I was a very wealthy man. I was not spending any of it. Do you understand, ladies and gentlemen? How do you enjoy food? You tell me. By putting it in the fridge, right? How do you enjoy your food? By putting it in the fridge. Is it? Then? By? That you know. How do you enjoy your car? By? Putting it in the showroom. Parking in the garage. Then? Driving. How do you enjoy your wine? Swaminatha, don't ask such questions. Not on Sunday morning. By putting it in the cellar. Then? Drinking it. Okay, so how do you enjoy your money? No, you say spend, you don't spend it. You enjoy your money by saving it. That's what the bank wants you to do. And to attract you to do that, they give you an interest rate. And the higher that number is, the more you are fooled. That's not the interest rate, that's the fool rate. How much you are fooled. If you're keeping your money in the bank just for security, okay, still it doesn't serve you. Maybe you might think, okay, I need it for the future, right? Then, okay, and I get that part. It's for future, in case of, in the event of an unexpected event, right? Unforeseen eventuality, you need a nest egg, shall we say. But if you take joy in looking at your bank balance, like I used to do once, and that's where you get your kicks from. You really need a kicking, I tell you. You do deserve that. A good kick. Because money is a representation of value. And that value can only be yours when you spend it. That's a lot of people think that, when they are older, I have this much saved up in this bank account, that much saved up in that bank account, see how successful I am. That's how people like to think. The next day they have a heart attack. And they drop dead. Did you know that not a penny of that will they get again in their next life? Because none of it was given. It was all saved. When you give to the bank, you don't feel like you're doing charity, do you? Huh? You go to a bank manager and go, ping what bank manager? Huh? I offer this to you wholeheartedly. May by the power of these merits. Saving is not how you get. Giving is how you get. You give and you get. Now my parents, I've started asking them, what are you going to do with your savings? I said, do something with it. Because one of these days you're going to go. Right? Let me explain to you why I say that to them. I want them to enjoy the fruits of their hard labor. I know that they can't take anything with them in their coffins. When they go empty-handed. Right? So there's only one way they can transfer what they have earned into something that they can get back in their next life. There's only one way to do that. And that's not by leaving it at the bank. The only way they can do that is to give. Give to the poor. Give to the hungry. Wherever your heart is, give joyfully. Wherever you can give joyfully, give joyfully. Wherever you can give happily, give happily. If it's to an old age home, an elder's home, give. Wherever you can give happily. If it's for, let's say, cancer research, if that's where your heart is, if that's what appeals to you, give. If it's to a kennel, a pet's home, give. If it's to an orphanage, give. Because that's the only way you can get it back. Keep it in the bank. Why do you not get back what you have put in the bank? It was not giving. It was saving. Here's the principle. What you give, completed, is what you get. What you save, no. Is not what you get. Because what you save was given to you. What you have saved was something that was given to you because you had given before. So that was God's reward. You know what I mean by God, right? Give or deny. What you have given, God gives you. What you have denied, God denies you. So if you have denied suffering to others, if you have denied suffering to others, what does God deny you? Suffering. If you have denied goodness to others, what does God deny you? Goodness. If you have given others peace of heart, what does God give you? Peace of heart. That's the thing, that's how it works. Whether you take it as karma and vipaka, or you understand it as divine intervention, whatever way you want to look at it, this is how the universe works. This is how everything works, because you are the creator of your own future. Every time you think something, ladies and gentlemen, you have already created your future. The moment you have had a thought, your future is created. Now all that waits is for that to come to fruition. That is the Buddha's teaching. So, take the Bible, take the Holy Quran, take the Torah. Everywhere it says, be good, be kind, be nice, be helpful. And the divine powers that there are, they will look after you. So what does that say? Do good and good shall be done to you. In the same way, do bad and bad shall be done to you. So who's the creator? You. What you reap is what you sow. And what you sow, you shall reap. Yes, perfectly acceptable. And I like it to be that way. Don't you? I do bad, you have to suffer. Up for that? Are you up for that? No. You like it that the reins are in your hand, don't you? Which means you have complete command and control over what's going to happen to you. That's what I mean. And that is how the universe works, ladies and gentlemen. That's how the whole works. The whole setup is very fair. Nothing is unfair with the universe. Nothing is unfair with this setup. Nothing is. So when people, they look up at the skies and they go, why did you do it this way? Why have you done it that way? Why did you do that to that innocent child? What innocent child? How do you decide that someone's innocent? You're only talking about what you have seen in this moment. A child is innocent, yes, because he's a child. But remember, he was not always a child. So God's not unfair. Very fair. Very fair. Karma and Vipaka is not unfair. Very fair. There's nothing that is more fair. Nothing that is fairer than that. Which means you're empowered. That's what I like. This knowledge, it empowers you. Because now you know that you are in control of what's to happen to you. It also means that everything that comes to you, ladies and gentlemen, look at yourself like you would in a mirror. When you see yourself in a mirror, what you see in a mirror is what you have done to you, right? When you put on your makeup, you check in the mirror. When you brush your hair, you check in the mirror. When you adjust your clothes, you'll check in the mirror, right? You check in the mirror to see what you have done to yourself. Am I right? Yeah. So when vipakas come to you, whether they are those that bring you happiness or they bring you sorrow, when they come to you, treat it like a mirror. This is what you have done in the past. So learn from it. If you have to suffer, suffer, but make sure you learn from them. If ever someone comes and accuses you, false accusations, I'd say you're the most genuine person at the workplace, and someone accuses you of misappropriating funds, or misappropriating something else, or theft, something, corruption, right? When you hear this, you think, good heavens, all my life I have been so faithful, I've been so loyal. Not even in my dreams have I ever considered, right, being disloyal to my workplace or stealing anything. How come I get all these accusations? That's not the question you need to be asking. Tell yourself, remind yourself, for such accusations to come to someone who has been so upfront, so clean, so sharp, so straight, right? How much must I have accused people falsely? So every time you hear something like that, you must remind yourself, these are the things that I have done in the past. So you are your own teacher. These are life lessons. These are life lessons. Because you see, one of the greatest advantages of looking at life in this way, ladies and gentlemen, is you don't make the same mistake twice. When someone attacks you, if you attack them, you've just planted another seed. Why are you attacked? Because you'd attacked. So if you attack again, what's going to happen? You make the same mistake twice. But if you understand today that this attack is because of an attack that I inflicted on someone else in the past, now you don't attack again. You just very equanimously accept it. Okay, if this is what I have to bear right now, I'll accept it. That doesn't mean you have to stay put while someone comes and beats the hell out of you. Try and run, yes. You can avoid your vipaka coming to you. You can avoid it. You can try to avoid. Avoidance is okay. Avoidance is okay. I mean, that is the whole point of this asana. Why do you want to become a Sotapanna? So that the bad deeds, the sins you had committed in the past, which might bring you birth in the 4 great hells, can be avoided once and for all. Because the Buddha finds the loop in the system. There's a loophole of an otherwise perfect system. There's a loophole of an otherwise perfect system. That's why they call him the perfect one. He finds this loophole. He says, I see, you will only have to suffer if you are still here, when it's time for it to ripe. But if you're not here, then, as in when the debtors come knocking on the door, if you are gone by then, if you're gone by then they won't have any door to knock on. So there's a way out of this. Actually, the Buddha Sasana, another word for the Buddha Sasana is a get out of jail free card. You can get out of jail free. I am so obsessed with this asana because I know that I wasn't always a saint. That's why I'm obsessed with this asana. I wasn't always a saint. I don't know about you. It's everyone to themselves. You know your stories. But I know about myself. I wasn't always a saint. I know the good deeds I've done and I know the bad deeds I've done. And I know that I don't want to stick around. I don't want to hang around when the consequences of my bad actions come to me. So I want to get out of here as soon as possible. And there's only one way to do that. The way to get out of here as soon as possible is not want to be here. To not want to be here. But you can't not want to be here if you want to exist. To want to be is to want to exist. Isn't it? That is what you mean by to be. To be is to exist. Don't you feel right now that you exist? That's the problem. That means you want to be. That's why I said, leave me alone. Just let me, see? Just let me be. Stop nagging me, just let me be. So you don't realize that that is the biggest punishment you can give yourself. The want to be. These chittas are merely manifestations of an event. When you see this object, a chitta occurs. A chitta occurs in your bodies, somewhere in your bodies a chitta occurs just to inform you that an object has been seen. That's all it's supposed to do. That's all it's there to do. But that is the working of a mind that has no ignorance. Unfortunately, all of our minds and each of our minds are cursed with ignorance and attachment. It's no one else's curse. It's the curse that we are born with and something you can come out of. But for as long as that ignorance is there, ladies and gentlemen, you can't just stop at seeing this. You go on to entitify this, meaning you identify this as a unique object. You see this as an object that exists rather than an object that manifests. That is because you see yourself as someone that exists. What does your identity card prove? That you exist. That's what your identity card proves, that you exist and that you have an identity. Doesn't your identity card tell you how each of you are unique and different to each other? Yeah, that's why you are given a number. And you're the only person on this land that has that number. Unless you printed it at home. So it confirms your identity. Do you see anything weird about that? Ignore the Dhamma for a second. You look at your identity card and it says you have this number, which makes you stand out, that you are unique. Do you see anything weird about that? No, right? Yeah, it agrees with everything that you understand about yourself. You are unique, and therefore it's fine to have a unique number. That's your primary key. For those who are familiar with databases, that's your primary key. This is the number with which I'm identified. So ring that number and no one else shall answer. Only I. When you hold your identity card in your hand, don't you feel like this is the one thing in this world? This piece of paper, the one thing in this world that speaks about me and no one else. Whereas when you hold a marriage certificate, it talks about 2 people. Birth certificate talks about 3 people. Sometimes even your grandparents, they're also there. But on your identity card, the one piece of paper that is dedicated just for me. It's a very special piece of paper. You can't shake that feeling. I remember the day I got my identity card for the first time. I held it in my hand and go, wow, they have accepted me. That I'm special. And I'm unique. It spoke a lot about who I was. These are the fantasies that we create for ourselves, and these are the dream worlds in which we live, ladies and gentlemen. So now do you understand why you feel busy? You create a future. You are just a chitta. Now I share this story with you, I give you this narrative because I want you to go and live this. Don't just leave it here. I can't emphasize that enough. Are you all with me on this? Yeah? Don't just leave it here. Yes, it was a good sermon, Swaminatha. You did a fantastic job, Swaminatha. We give you some arms today to say, come on, you can do it, Swaminatha. I want more than that from you all. I'm not here for the applause. I'm here because I know you suffer. And for me, your suffering and my suffering is the same. That's why even the day when I've done my job will not still be done. My job will be done, but my job will still not be done. I've just said the same thing, but in different meanings. My job meaning, suffering would have ceased in this mind, but this mind is the same as that mind. It's the same as that mind. It's the same as that mind. We are all one consciousness. If we are all one consciousness, why does it matter where the problem is? It still has to be fixed, right? That's why the Buddha went for miles on foot. That's why the Buddha's 45 years of service. Even when he had an excruciating backache and a headache that was killing him, he still went on service. That's why the great elders, just because they attained the arahanthood, their journey didn't stop there. And that is why today we have these legacies to talk about. It's not because they became Buddhas. If the Buddha stopped at becoming a Buddha, we wouldn't have spoken about him today. We wouldn't be speaking about him today like we do. It's not his becoming a Buddha that we speak of, right? It's how he helped others become Buddhas today that we speak of. And the same goes, why do we talk about Jesus? It is said that he was already the Father, the Son of the Father. When he arrived on this planet, he was already that. But that's not why we speak of him. We speak of him today. There are books written on him today. There are hymns sung on his name today, because he helped others to go back to the great Father, to find their way back to the Father. That's why we speak of them. That's why we speak of the great Arahants. That's why we speak of the Buddha. So it's not merely a story, a saga, for us to just give an applause and say, oh, well done, they did a fantastic job. Yeah, well, their job was done, but their job was your job. That's the thing. Their job was your job. The Buddha's job was my job. He made my job his job. He wanted my salvation. For what? He'd already become the Buddha. He'd already become the Buddha. This is where they stand out. And they are incomparable. Not even parents can be compared in this regard. Because parents may be self-sufficient by the time that they have children. But one thing parents do know is, and most parents have this in the back of their minds, and you can't fault them for that, that is, when we are older, what? Are you telling me that your parents didn't have the slightest assurance that you would look after them when they were older? It's quite reasonable. I'm not faulting them for that. But that is where the Buddhas, the Arahants, they are incomparable. When they're not on the same league as far as parents are concerned. Because there's something a parent expects out of bringing their children up. Something, at least honor. My children will live an honorable life. And they'll bring good to my name. They will do good to my name. They won't dishonor me. That's why if your children do something dishonorable, you are hurt. If your daughter or your son runs away, which paper are you going to put that advert on? If they die, you'll put it in the obituary. Yes. The son of so-and-so, the daughter of so-and-so has passed away. That will go into the obituaries. When it's time for them to get married, you'll put them into the Mangala Kinkini. What's it called? The what? Matrimonials, yeah? Yeah, the matrimonial section. But if your son runs away, if he elopes, he's only 20, he runs away with a 45-year-old woman. What section of the newspaper are you going to put that article in? And if someone comes and asks you, what do you say? Just a chitta, man. Just a chitta. Would you say that? Or are you going to be deeply hurt? Typically, you shouldn't even ask a mother or a father about such things, right? They remain the elephant in the room. They remain the skeleton in the closet. You don't talk about those things. Because they're very hurtful. You don't talk about those things. Unless you are close, very close family, a very close friend, you don't talk about those such things. Because it's very hurtful. Why? Because their very integrity, has now been questioned. That's why you don't talk about such things. So then there was something they expected out of bringing children up. Honor. That's a big thing for parents, honor. And you know this, as children who have grown up to live very honorable lives, you've only done what you know is right and what your parents have approved. Yes? Then you have lived honorable lives and your parents are very grateful for that. But if along the way you did some things that were dishonorable, perhaps they might have even thrown you out of the family. Don't ever come back home. From henceforth, you are no longer my child. Parents even go that far. This is not the first time you're hearing such things. I'm sure you've heard plenty of stories like this. Now, if you know parents who are like that, if you know a parent who's like that, the only solace that can be offered to them is the Dhamma. To help them understand that they were actually looking for something in their children. In the effort, the hard work that they were putting into rearing their children and bringing them up, they expected honor out of it. Meaning they expected their name to be sung with glory. Meaning they were talking about a self. If my children are good, then people will look at me favorably. They will look at me with honor. If my children get credit, I get credit. So who's this demanding credit? I. So then you cannot say that was unselfish love. Once again, we go back to the self. And I'm not suggesting that, from here on you can change all this overnight. You can't stop this for as long as you have the sense of identity inside of you. And that happens over time, ladies and gentlemen. To kill that sense of self is the whole project of the sasana. And it takes time. It takes time, it takes baby steps, one step at a time, 1 week at a time, right? It's trying to understand that this sense of self is not something that exists, but it's a creation of your own mind. When you come to terms that this is all rooted in ignorance, and it's bred from ignorance, and it's fed from ignorance, once you begin to understand that you come out of that ignorance from which it is fed, from which it is nurtured, that very ignorance which feeds it and nurtures it is the ignorance you come out of. And that's what begins to spell the end of your sense of existence. So please apply what you have learned. I can't stop you from feeling busy, but when you do feel busy, do realize that it is not your boss who does that to you. It's not your family. It's not the projects. It's not your stakeholders. It's nothing like that. Busyness is a sense of the future that you create and you cook up in your own mind. It's when you look at the future and you go, I have to do all these things. That's why I gave you the analogy. At this point, what you have to do is 40 kilos worth of work. But when you're actually doing it, it's only 10. You understand that analogy? Yeah? And the same applies. Now when you get back to work on Monday, when is Monday? Tomorrow is Monday. When you get back to work on Monday, right? Apply this. Just try it out. At least because I've been trying to explain this to you for the last hour. Just try it out once, right? When you get back to work and you sit down for a moment and ask yourself, right, how much work do I have to get done this week? I plan my work. I have a diary on which I write down everything I have to get done. And then I put an A, B, C, or a D next to it. That's the way I prioritize my work. Which ones I can delegate, which ones have to be done immediately, which ones can be done leisurely, and so on. So there's a way that I prioritize my work. That's not the problem. It's not about having lots of work. It's this feeling of, I have to do all this. It's when you ask this question, why me? Don't you ever find yourself asking that question? All the people out there. Why? Why me? Who's responsible for that? You. Because the boss only gives you work, he doesn't give you me. He doesn't give you your you. He gives you work. Who creates the you? You create the you. So yes, you're asking a very valid question. Why me? But that's exactly what I'm trying to talk to you about on Sundays. Why me? Why this sense of self? Ask in that context. So I'm not asking you not to ask that question again. Ask it, but ask it meaningfully. Why me? Do you understand the difference that I'm trying to highlight here? You've always asked that question. Why me? when you asked that question in the past, this is what worked in your mind. There's so many people out there. And they could all be doing this. Why does it happen to me? When problems come, they all come at, what's the magic word? They come at once. Yeah, can't you see? See? These are problems. Yeah? They all come at once. When? When do they come at once? When you project yourself into the future. Of course. Or you project yourself to the past. Because then you see all of this as one. Or even when you're in the... Now imagine this guy standing here. And now he's looking at the work that he's done, which were all problems, let's say. Now all problems have come to me, and they have all come at once. But the truth is, each chitta can only process one piece of data. It's like a single core processor. Unlike these multi-core processors that they have these days. It can only process one thing at once. And that is all you are. You are just a chitta. You are not two of these at once. You are not this. And another one. Another one. You're not that. You're just one of these. And you're not two of these either. You're not. You're just one of them. In the same way that you are actually just one individual in this room. But as a room, we may be 100 people. But individually, you're all just one, right? In the same way, ladies and gentlemen, you are just one. Think about your shall we say, your ancestry. When you talk about your ancestry, there's you. Then there's your father. Then there's your grandfather. Then there's your great-grandfather. And then great-great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, and so on, right? When you look at it like that, that's your ancestry. But actually there's only one individual at once. Now, if your father commits a crime, would they put you in prison? If your grandfather commits a crime, would they put you in prison? Would they send you to the gallows? No, why not? Because that's not you. But don't you send yourself to the gallows? Tell me that. See, the prisons, the courts will vindicate you. They will exonerate you because you're not the one who's committed the crime. Right? When they consider all facts, all evidence, they will say, no, it was not this person, it was the father. Let's say there's a case that's gone to court, and the case is whether it was the child or the father that's committed the crime, and the court decides in your favor, meaning it was the father that's committed the crime, so the father gets sent to prison. Even if you wanted to, could you go into prison with him? But I'm his son. Can I not go to prison with him? Just for a day. I mean, can you reason like that and go to prison with the father? Can you? You can't, right? Because the law sees you as two discrete individuals. So you can only go to prison if you've committed a crime. For those, what will the court say? Well, first you commit the crime as well, then we'll send you to prison. No crime, no prison time. That's the qualification to get to prison. So then, but when your father, meaning now I'm talking about chittas now. If this is the present chitta, what is this chitta? The father chitta. Right? Then what is this chitta? The grandfather chitta. I'm talking about a series of chittas. Right? And then this chitta becomes a great-grandfather chitta. Yeah? Okay, now come back. This chitta has committed a crime. Adultery, let's say. What does this chitta do? Oh, look at what I did. I can't get over it. I feel so bad about what I've done. It feels terrible. Does it not suffer? But who's committed the crime? The great-grandfather. Who's suffering now? The son. Not even a court of law will they accuse you of having done something that was not committed by you. But you do it to yourself. See, these are the consequences of experiencing a sense of self. Guilt comes as a package. It comes with your sense of self. As well as taking credit for things that you've done in the past. That also comes with it. Taking credit for things you've done in the past. Now let's say you won the gold medal 3 years ago. Okay? 3 years ago you won the gold medal. Or at the last Olympics you won the gold medal, let's say. Today you walk around and you expect to be treated like a gold medalist. Yeah? You expect to be treated like a gold medalist. Why? Because who won it? I won it. Really? No, you had nothing to do with it. You weren't even there when it happened. You can think of it, yes, that's because something from memory, a fragment of memory comes to the presence. In the presence, a chitta is born to recognize that fragment of memory. That's the only credit that this chitta can take, nothing more. That's why this whole nonsense about living in the past and living in the future is then, as well as living in the present. This is all utter rubbish. You need to come out of this, otherwise you have just created a stick for your own back. I can't stop you from feeling guilty unless you work your way out of this problem. This is the pit into which you have jumped willingly, and now it's time for you to come out of it. There's only one way out. I have thrown the ladder in. You have to climb it up yourself. I've thrown the ladder in. You've got to climb it up yourself. Most of these human emotions that we speak of, they're all rooted in ego. Ego meaning sense of self. Many human emotions, a multitude of human emotions. But people say it's very natural, it's very normal, and you're entitled to those emotions. Well, yeah, then you're entitled to the ego as well, if that is so. Then you're also entitled to the consequences of your evil actions. But there they say, no, we won't escape from that. I mean, I have heard talks given by various people. They say, what you're supposed to do is just accept whatever's going on in your mind. Right? So greed is part of your existence. Jealousy is part of your existence. Lust is part of your existence. Anger is part of your existence. There's nothing you have to actually do about that. Just accept that they're all part of your existence and, just get on with it. I don't know why you buy that biscuit. I don't know why people do. Because you suffer. All of these are rooted in ignorance. All of these are rooted in ego. In your sense of self. So if you want freedom, if you want escape from these daytime nightmares that you have to live with, I'm not even talking about the nightmares you see in your dreams. I'm talking about daytime nightmares. Busyness is one of them. Something happening to your children? You always live in that fear as parents. And you can't shake it. I know you can't shake it off. If your phone rings now and it's your son or your daughter, you can't not answer that. It feels very wrong not to answer because your motherly, fatherly instincts kick in. What if something's wrong? Just imagine they try to ring you 2 or 3 times and you want to pay attention to the sermon and you say, and then you get a text message in bold letters, like capital letters. It's urgent, right? Accident. Then your heart will skip a beat. But there are people being brought into the accident and emergency ward every second. Right now. Someone else is being rushed into the ward right now. But that doesn't bother you. You know that goes on all the time. It doesn't bother you. But when it becomes your child, then it bothers you. So what is this connection? That's what you need to figure out. Where is this connection? Where is this linkage? What is this link between an event and me feeling that it's part of my world? There are only events, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what you do. To give you a visual representation of what you do with your life, right? Here's what you do. There are events that go on. Each of these are events that happen very independently, and they manifest when there are causes. They're all events. You know what you do? You make it part of your world. Now these events all become part of your world. They're your events. Someone somewhere is suffocating. A human body is suffocating. Okay, they're shortness of breath, let's say, and they're suffocating. That's just an event. If I ask you what you're supposed to do with that person, you say, get them to the hospital, get them medical attention. That's it. You are very clinical about it, not cynical. Clinical about it. I'm the one who's cynical, right? You're very clinical about it. It's very factual. That's the thing to do. If they're short of breath, get them to the hospital. Get a doctor to see it. But now I give you another piece of information. That's your daughter. That's your son. Now it's not just a case of get them to the hospital. Can you stop the fear that comes into your mind? Let's be honest. That fear that completely engulfs you. You can hold your head high up and say, get them to the hospital. Why are you waiting? Just get them to the hospital. But then the moment you say it's your son, what? Now you have short of breath. You know what I'm talking about. If you see your child running across the street, right, let's say they're too young to know when traffic is approaching. And if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about, folks. If you've ever been in this situation where you've seen your child run into a street and there's vehicles that are coming from either side, right? As a mother or a father or someone who cares about you, maybe a grandparent even, doesn't even have to be mother-father. See, the child doesn't even have to be born out of your own womb. You just have to feel a connection. The moment that happens, you are completely engulfed by that emotion. And you suffer. That's the problem. I have nothing against you trying to intervene and save that child's life. That's not what I have a problem with. I hope you understand. It's a valuable human life. Let's save it. Because much good can come to that life if that life were to be able to live on, right? I'm pro-life, always. Always. My problem is not that. It's not about saving that life. It's about this grief that consumes you. It's about the sorrow. It's about the fear that overtakes you. And then you are nothing more than fear after that has happened. Then you are fear on two legs. That's what you are. You should see how irrational your choices are after that. You hear someone dies. Why do you cry? The more you cry, the greater the chance that they come back to life, or what? What's the logic? A dog's died. Just a random dog. Come on, cry. Cry. See, you can't even bring yourself to tears. Cry. But if I say that was your dog, now different story. Only one additional word added to that. Your. See, dog died. That's okay. That's okay. Dogs die all day long. Just a chitta. But the moment I say your dog died, did the fact that the dog child changed? Did it change? Is the dog now somehow dead in a very different way? Dog died. Right? That's a fact. Right? I say your dog died. The dog died part, is it like somehow more dead than it was before. Now that I put the your part in front of it. No, right? So then how come you are now crying? How come you're crying just now and not when I just said the dog died? What happened? This is what I'm talking about. Now you are fear, now you are grief, now you are sorrow on two legs. I mean, can't you do better than that? Is that what you are bound to be? Like, are you an accident waiting to happen? Is that what you are? You're just an accident waiting to happen. Right? Because fear is an accident, anger is an accident, lust is an accident. In your world, is it not an accident? Do you like feeling fear? So when fear strikes you, is that not an accident? I mean, in this context, is that not an accident? When grief takes over, is that not an accident? Do you enjoy that? Do you like it? No. So aren't you an accident waiting to happen? Don't you want to be better than that? Or are you okay with the fact that you're always very susceptible to fear and to anger and to grief and to sorrow? How many people are part of your family? You know that each and every one of them are bound to go. So you can look at them and count the accidents that are waiting to happen on the fingers of your hand. As my mother, she's a father, brother, elder son, younger son, daughter, husband, the other husband. And then your friends. Then even friends, you have categorized them, right? Good friend, close friend, best friend, mango friend, pineapple friends. I don't know what friends you have. Childhood friends, special friends, pen friends, friends. Each of these is an accident waiting to happen. Their death is not the accident. That's a fact. Their death is not the accident. But you feeling fear, you grieving, that's not a fact, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't have to be. I tell you, it doesn't have to be. That is your own choosing. You create the drama out of a death. It's like you wait for a death to happen so that you can put on a bit of a drama. This is not meant to insult. I hope you're all with me on this journey. I told you what my teacher told me, right? He took me, he shook me, he broke me, and then he made me. So I'm doing the same with you. So I'm shaking you now frivolously. You'll begin to see stars in a moment. I will assume that is okay with you. So I'm going to propose that you are all waiting for a death to happen so that you can make a drama out of it. How's that? So that you can feel, I'm here, see, I'm here, and I'm feeling very sorrowful, I'm feeling a lot of grief, see, I'm here. And I'm crying, everyone, can't you see I'm crying, see? Acknowledge me, I'm crying. That's the drama. Today, as I begin to see thoughts and chittas and how ignorance has taken over, I understand now this is all an extension of a sense of self. Because if there is no self, there is no grief, ladies and gentlemen. If there is no self, there is no sorrow. If there is no self, there is no fear. And self is your need to identify with yourself as an individual. That you are here and you need to be recognized. How ugly that is, really. That's like calling out to the world and saying, hey, I don't care, whoever is there, I am here. And you must all take account of that. That's what you're saying with your sense of self. So when there's a death, what do? That's it. I'm here. That's what you do when you cry. I'm here. Hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm here. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about what has happened to you. I hope you understand I speak with empathy. This is not meant to insult. But if you're first timers, I don't know, you might, my God, this Swaminvasa. Who gave him the right to become Swaminvasa? There's no wetness in his heart at all. He's as evil as they come. Then you have to ask the regulars. Ask the regulars before you go. I want you to feel embarrassed about your sense of ego. Shame on you. Not you. Ego. You wait for a death in the family. You wait for your mother to die. You wait for your father to die, so that you can tell the whole world, hey, I'm here. Right? Take note of me, I'm here. Mark me on the register, I'm here. I came to the funeral. That's what your grief tells the world. But it seems to be okay with everyone else because that's what everyone does. Just imagine if everyone passed wind as they walked. There's a better word for it, but I'll just say pass wind. Right? If everyone passed wind as they walked, right now that would be very normal, wouldn't it? But if you see some guy walking and he just goes passing wind as he walks, you're like, what's wrong with that guy? He needs to see the doctor. But if everyone did that. Now when we had COVID, people started wearing what? Masks, right? So when everyone started wearing masks, that became the normal. That was very normal. But before Corona, before COVID struck, and if someone was wearing a mask, you took special account of that, right? Something's not right. In the same vein, right, when everyone experiences the same thing, it becomes the norm. That's why your fear has become normal today. No one speaks up about that. No one says a word about it. When you at a funeral start crying, no one speaks up about that and comes on, what's wrong with you? No one asks you that, right? No one asks you. Because really, the question should be, what's wrong with you? My mother's dead. So, why are you crying? She's the one who's dead. Why are you crying? Then he'll say, well, shouldn't people cry when mothers die? Well, yeah, my mother died 2 houses down. Day before yesterday. How come you didn't cry then? Then you say, my mother. What my mother? That's a mental disease. When you start coughing, let's just say you're in a room and you start coughing, what do other people in the room normally do? They suggest something to you, right? Like remember when I had this, back a long time ago, I had this cough. Every other person who came up here, because you love Swaminvasa, I know that. You love Swaminvasa to the moon and back, I know that. So you came up here and said, Swaminvasa, please, can we offer you something? Here's this cough syrup. Here's this honey. Here's this turmeric. Here's this chili powder. You offered everything that could be that would be at least remotely relevant or regarded as a cure for a cough. That was offered. You were remotely related to something that was a cough treatment that was offered, right? And I recall this all very fondly and very gratefully. Okay, but I'm just bringing an example. That's what people do when someone has a cough. They offer a solution to it. They offer a remedy. Yes? When someone starts coughing in the room, they don't, okay, he's the cougher. You don't do that. You don't do that. You offer some water. You want to offer some relief, right? Someone's at the funeral and they're crying. What do? Mother's dead. Mother's dead. Meaning that's okay. If the mother's dead, that's okay. How is that okay? That's a mental disease. You're supposed to offer them some remedy. That's what you're supposed to do. No, but that's okay. Why? Because everyone cries. So it's okay for you to have diarrhea as long as everyone has it. I mean, then you can go spilling your guts out along the streets. No one would care. That's fine. Right? As long as everyone's got it, it's okay. But do you suffer any less just because the person next to you has it? That's what I mean. It's not human to cry. Those are defilements. All extensions of ego. That's why I say you must be embarrassed whenever you feel grief take over, fear take over, anger take over. You must be embarrassed, ladies and gentlemen. Don't think it's normal to be angry at things. It's not normal, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for this reason. Actually, you're not upset with what's going on. You're not upset about the injustice that has happened. That's not what you're upset about. This is an opportunity for you. Now go home today with this always, right? This is an opportunity for you to stand out of the crowd and go, hey, I'm here. Because when you're angry, you make it known to everyone that you are there. Like a little child, right, who comes nagging and screaming and shouting when they want something and they can't get it their way. What do little kids do? They're all on the floor and they start screaming and shouting and throwing things here and there just to grab people's attention. That's what people who get angry do. That's actually what's going on in their minds, because that is nothing more than an extension of self. At the root, that is what it is. That's saying, acknowledge me. Hey, acknowledge me. I'm angry. That's what you're more concerned about. It's not about the injustice that has happened. It's not about whatever's gone wrong. It's not that the accounts haven't been done. It's not that the report's not been filed. It's not that the food has not been cooked. So there's something far more important than that. So I speak to the husbands, the wives, the whoever's. When you get back home and your wife hasn't done the dishes or your husband hasn't done whatever's, right? When you go home, actually when you get angry and you start spewing out all those hurtful words and all that, your problem is not really the fact that something's not happened and that's what you wanted to happen. It's more like, this is a great opportunity for me to, what? Make myself known. And I will take it. I will exploit this opportunity. You're trying to capitalize on that moment. How shameful ego is. And this comes in various different ways, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes it comes in the shape of a very, very thoughtful person as well. I'll give you one or two examples, right? We're doing for time. No candles today. That's the thing, I don't have an agenda. So when I come here, I look at you and start speaking. You looked at me like you understand what I'm saying. At least you look like you understand what I'm saying. And so that just keeps the fire burning. That's what happens. Now, let's say there's a group of ladies, and then there's a gent, or a couple of guys or whatever. And someone whistles at them. Now, you see this a lot with school children and so on. You were all that age, so you know what I'm talking about at some point, right? Boys, right? Old boys, that's a nice one. Right? So if there were a bunch of girls, a group of girls, and you were the lad, and Someone started whistling. Now you feel that you are the one who has to show that you are the prince in shining armor. So you take on this persona, like, I am the protector. This is a perfect opportunity for you. You're going to capitalize that opportunity to show everyone that you are someone. And usually girls fall for that. Typically that's what happens. Girls think, that boy is so brave. He's so courageous, such gallantry, such chivalry. In this day and age, you can't expect that. But really, what's going on in this guy's mind? Time to shine. Don't forget, this is all rooted in ego. That's not an arahant who's there trying to protect you. It's just an opportunity for a mind who thinks that he's a boy, right, to give this false sense of security to a group of minds who he thinks is a bunch of girls, right? Because this is a great opportunity for him to feel that he's superior. He's a boy, right? So they're the girls. So he's the protector. And they are the protected. These are the social norms. These are the social drushti, social views that have been fed into our heads. So what must the boy do? He must confront. He must walk up to the boy who blew the whistle and say, hey, cut that out. Not under my watch. But he will make sure that the girls took notice of him while he did that. That's important. That's very important. That's why, if you recall, right, in your childhood, or not your childhood, but maybe your teenage years, right, if you were standing somewhere by yourself and a group of girls or even one girl walks up that way, your chest comes forward, your stomach goes back, right? Your back goes up straight, right? These transformations happened. You know this. Nothing to be embarrassed about. This is what happens when ego takes over. And the same I could say for the girls as well. If there was someone that you saw was, a bit of eye candy, then the hair, you know what to do with the hair. You adjust yourself to make sure that you are very presentable. Pucker up your lips and all that. That's why you always carry that little mirror on the wall with you. Why? Because you want yourself to be recognized, acknowledged. I'm here, please take account of me. Don't ignore me, because that's your worst fear. Your worst fear is that people wouldn't acknowledge you, because that is what the chitta is struggling to do. Looking for identity. I need identity. The chitta that is the greatest hunger of all, identity. The hunger for identity is the greatest hunger of all. The thirst for identity is the greatest thirst of all. The fear that your identity would be lost is the greatest fear of all. Understand this, ladies and gentlemen. Please understand this. For your sake, understand this. Look at yourselves through a different lens. Look at yourself, but from where I am standing. Not from where you're standing. Then you will see yourselves in a very different light. Then you will no longer see who you are, you will see what has happened to you. That's what I want you to see. Look at what has happened to you. You are just a chitta, but look at what has happened to you. Why do you fight so much for acknowledgement? Sometimes you won't jump onto the rooftops and scream out loud and, hey, acknowledge me, acknowledge me, acknowledge me. That's not what you do. But in very subtle ways, Very subtle ways. You still do that. Still meaning you will always do that until you become an arahant. Because until you become an arahant, what is the chitta? Chitta is always a chitta, but a chitta that has been hijacked by ego. And whenever ego takes over, now the ego wants identity. That's what the ego is. It's identity. Your identity is your ego. See, your identities can change, but the fact that there is an identity, has that ever changed? That's never changed. So when you were young, you were young. When you're middle-aged, you're middle-aged. When you're older, you're older. Yes, your identity might have changed. When you were single, you were single. When you were married, you were married. When you're divorced, you're divorced. Your identities might have changed, but the fact that you have an identity, has that changed? Has it? No, that was always there. That's this constant, this sense of constantness that you feel. A sense of continuity. You feel that, don't you? That you have always continued to exist. That is ego. But don't be fooled. There is no such thing. You need to understand what's really going on. These are mere chittas. One chitta, after the next, after the next, after the next. And each of these chittas, your sense of identity has to be cooked up, fabricated, anew. Because each chitta arises on a bed of ignorance. Each chitta arises with a desire to experience identity. But identity doesn't come in the rupa, it doesn't come in vedana, it doesn't come in sanya, it doesn't come in sankara, it doesn't come in vijnana. It doesn't come through vipaka. It doesn't come. If it doesn't come through vipaka, it's not there. Simple as. If it doesn't come through vipaka, it does not exist. So if something does not exist, now what must you do if you want it? You have to create it. But the thing is, you can't create it either. So all that you can do is go into a hallucination. Hallucinate something. Something that you cannot create. Hallucinate. So then you begin to see this hallucination, this illusion. And that illusion is the sense of self. But as this chitta passes away, so does the sense of self that you created in that particular chitta. But hey, fear not. The next chitta is just round the corner. And that chitta rises again on a bed of ignorance. The same rigmarole. Again and again and again and again. Each chitta being born, and on each chitta you fabricate a sense of self. And again, and again. But here's what the sense of self does. Because the sense of self feels that it exists on a dimension of time, now it doesn't feel that these were individual senses of selves. Please check the grammar on that one. It doesn't identify these as individual senses of selves, or senses of self. That is the nature of self. Because it creates a sense of this a dimension of time, and because each instance of the sense of self is a product of ignorance, and same attachment, if you combine the same materials together, you get the same product. Right? 1 plus 1 always equals 2. Another set of 1 plus 1, still 2. Another set of 1 plus 1, still 2. Likewise. Every time it's the same causes, therefore every time it's the same effect. Because it's the same effect, these two effects don't seem any different to each other. And that is why you feel, I'm here, I'm also here, I'm also here, I'm also here. And these are not different I's who are here, it's the same I. That's an illusion. But do understand, this is not an I at all. It is only a hallucination of I, an illusion of I. Because it does not come from vipaka. If it does not come from vipaka, it does not exist. Simple as that. If it does not come from vipaka, then it is not part of your rupa, it's not part of your vedana, it's not part of sanya, not part of sankara, not part of vijnana. But so if it was part of vipaka, then you would see, you would hear, you would smell, you would taste, you would feel tactile sensations. Those are vipaka. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the doer in each of these actions. This is not just a seeing. You think that it is you who's seeing. I could ask you the question, who's seeing? And you would say, I am seeing, Swaminathan. That's the one I'm talking about. The doer in each of these actions. That doesn't come with vipaka. Only seeing comes with vipaka. The activity of seeing comes with vipaka. Smelling comes with vipaka. Tasting comes with vipaka. That all comes with vipaka. That's all vipaka driven. That's why even the arahant experiences all that, no less than you or I. An arahant does not see any less than you or I do. They see it in full color. No difference there. The only thing is they don't think that it is they who is seeing it, or he who is seeing it. They don't feel an identity getting involved in this whole experience. But you do. That's why I say, to you, you are not just a chitta. Because this is just a chitta. This is when it becomes no longer just a chitta. It's a chitta with identity. That's why I go back to what I said earlier. Once again, this is not to hurt or to insult or embarrass anyone, but I'm not going to embarrass you, but you need to embarrass yourself. Because this is a fight not with me, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a fight with the person next to you. It's not a fight with another community. It's not a fight with your next door neighbors. It's not a fight with our neighboring country. It's not a fight with the aliens. It's a fight within you. So wherever you have this opportunity to identify, here's the culprit. Zap it. Every time you get an opportunity to do that. But first, spot it. That's why when you feel like you are the bee's knees, when you feel like you're the one who's there to protect everyone, the protector, when you feel like that is what you have to do, then ask yourself, wait a second, is this really, truly selfless protection I'm trying to give? Or am I actually trying to identify with myself and I'm expecting that someone is here, I'm looking for acknowledgement? Sometimes it will come in the guise of generosity. Sometimes people like to give, provided there's acknowledgement. I like to think you are not like that. We must give not because there's acknowledgement as a reward for that. Because that's like looking up into the sky and spitting up, isn't it? Because you give and then what do you get back? Acknowledgement. Because the spit always acknowledges the spitter, does it not? Try it when you get back home tonight. So a few minutes ago I was saying, saving is not what's going to get you your reward. You have to give. But now I'm saying, give, but not because there's acknowledgement that comes at the back of that. That's like looking up and spitting into the sky. Spit always acknowledges the spitter. So it shouldn't matter whether someone sees you giving. Everyone knows that I'm the one who gives. Actually, you've given very little then. You've given the object, but what about yourself? You've not given any of yourself. What do I always tell you? What am I here for? Not what you have, but what you are. Right? I always tell you that. I'm here to take with me what you are, meaning yourself. That's how I know that these sermons are successful. They're productive. If you can always come and leave a bit of you here and go. So then every time you do that, once you've done it for a while, there will be no you left to give. That's the day you can say, Swaminathan, I'm free now. That's what I want. I'm not here for what you have. What you have is for the sasana. For the sasana to continue to exist, then we must all give what we have. See, I have given my life to the sasana. Some of you have given your children to the sasana. Those are things you have. Some of you have given your houses, your homes to the sasana. Some of you have given your vehicles to the sasana. Some of you give your first and foremost take home. The first part of whatever you earn, you give to the sasana. These are things that people among you do. Every rupee of the first 100 rupees to the sasana. 1 rupee. 1% of everything to the sasana. 10% of everything to the sasana. Whatever. There's no right or wrong answer here. That's for the prosperity of the sasana. But I'm talking about you. For your prosperity, it's not what you have, it's what you are that you must give. Because when you give to the sasana, you give to the sasana. When you give yourself, you give up, not give to. There's a difference there, right? There are different phrasal verbs. To give to and to give up. When there's a giving to, there's a donor and there's a recipient. There's a giver and there's a recipient. I'm giving this to you. When you say, I give up, who are you giving to? I give up smoking. Does that mean someone else is going to start that now? See? Here's what I mean. I'm giving up smoking to you. Make sense? No, right? I give up smoking. Yes. No one else is the recipient of that. Who gains? The one who gives up. How much? Whole of it. 100%. Give to the sasana. Yes. That you do as how you wish, how you can, whatever. There are people who give their knowledge to the sasana. Again, too. That is sharing. They give their experience to the sasana. They give their wisdom to the sasana. There are among you doctors who come and spend time at the monastery. They're sharing their knowledge, their experience, their wisdom to treat our Swami Mahanses and Anagarikas and the children and so on. There are those of you who come and teach languages. These are assets of the sasana. Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, Upasika, the fourfold sasana. That is giving to the sasana. But I'm not here for that. Because I don't need to encourage you to give to the sasana. You are born with that desire to give to the sasana because you feel the Buddha. Don't you? It was not I who introduced the Buddha to you, your grandmother did. She's the one who held your hands together in front of the Buddha statue and said, Buddha, say sadhu. She's the one who did that. All I did was brought meaning to what the Buddha is. But I didn't introduce you to the Buddha. You had absolute faith in the Buddha right from the day that you heard the name, the Buddha, and you saw his statue and you thought, that is a great man. Must be a great man. Even if you had not understood the Dhamma, you still introduced the Buddha to your children. You took them to the temple. You took them to the Pirit chanting. You took them for almsgivings. You arranged things at home. Perhaps you didn't understand what Nibbāna was, but when the word Buddha was uttered, there was a shock that went down your spine. You sensed it. Something was there. The hairs on the back of your neck stood up. Buddha. Something's there. You felt that connection. That was not me who did that. That's why I say that was your grandmother. That was your mother. That was your elder sister, your akka who did that. Your ayya did that for you, not me. I just put meaning to that. It's like adding spices. But that's what I'm saying. I'm not here for what you have to give to the sasana. I'm here for what you are ready to give up for the sasana. That is you. That's why I say, in these moments, where you are there and you feel like at the funeral. Now, I'm not suggesting that you should hold your tears back, right, and not cry. I've always told you, right, when you're in the middle of your family, you must cry. Don't not cry. If you don't cry, then people will think that you're some weirdo. They will take you to the psychiatrist the next day because they'll think something's wrong with you. You have to cry when you're among your family. Because that is how people have come to know this is a sign of affection. You must cry. That's how people express affection. What to do? Apparently that's how so now don't I care about you? So if you come and tell me, Swaminathan, my mother died, do you see me crying? No, but don't I care about you more? Don't I care about your mother more than you do? Because to you, she's your mother. To me, she's a chitta. So in her next life, you're not going to care about her. Let's be honest. You're only going to care about her in this life. Because in this life, she's your mother. In the next life, she's going to be someone else's mother. You're not going to care about her. Not unless you start to see all chittas as chittas. Then there are no differences. They're all the same. That's what I meant. I care more about your mother than you do. But you don't see me crying. Affection has nothing to do with crying. Ignorance has everything to do with crying. Fear, grief, sorrow. Don't let these ghosts torture and torment your life and haunt your life, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let them see a way out of this. Envisage the day where you can be free of these burdens on your mind. These are mental diseases. These are mental ailments. You don't have to live with them. It's not human to cry. It's the simplest way I can put it. But people will disagree with me. They will say, no, that's wrong, Swaminathan said. To fear is a very human emotion. To be angry is a very human emotion. That is what people will say. To feel greedy, to feel lust, to feel anger, these are very human emotions. To be sorrowful, to have grief, these are all very human emotions. I say not. They're not human emotions. They're not human emotions. It's nothing to do with being human. It's to do with being ignorant. It's to do with attachment. That's why there will come a day where you will be free of all these and you will still be human. Human is ultimately a series of vipakas. That's what it is. Deva is a series of vipakas. To be a dog is what? A series of vipakas. That's what it is. The 4 great hells is a series of vipakas. The heavens, the 6 heavens is a series of vipakas. The human realm is a series of vipakas. That's all it is. In that environment, it is those vipakas that are drawn. Causes and conditions. A combination of these two. That is what to be human is. Not to cry. Not to lust. Not to fear. So I want you all to envisage a day where you can be free of these emotions. And bring out the best within you. You can be better than this. You can. Don't let your defilements suppress you. Break free from them so that we can surface the best version of you. My ask is not for you to become me. I want you to become the best version of yourself. Your conditions, your vipakas, we need it. Right? That's why not everyone has to be the Sariputta Thero. We need the Moggallana Thero as well. We need the Kassapa Thero as well. We need the Bhadrakacchana Maharat Theranin Vahanse as well. We need the Kisagotami as well. We need all of them. They're all different to one another. They're not all the same. They're only same in one way. That is, none of them suffer. In that way, be the same as me. Be the same as Arahants. That's what we are all aspiring to. In that way, we must all be the same. But in every other way, be yourself. Be yourself. There are skills, there are talents that you have. I'm not asking you to shake them out. Keep them. Your natural abilities, keep them. They are treasures. Not just for the sasana, but also for humanity. What you can do, you can do. You can do that to help others. Keep them. Don't shake them off. But shake off ignorance and attachment. So that you're not always looking for a stage on which you can cry for acceptance. Next time you go to a funeral and you see someone crying, right? Quietly, don't say anything, please. Just quietly look into that person's mind. Try and read that person's mind through the lens of Dhamma. And you will see how much they're looking for acceptance and recognition. Have you not seen that sometimes there are instances where they'll stop crying until the next visitor arrives? How do you explain that? They're placated, nice, settled, all that, and the next visitor arrives. Is that? Start again. And start again. The water works. Why? Because where there's no visitor, where's the platform for acknowledgement? There has to be someone there to acknowledge that I'm here, right? So that's what it is. And it's an opportunity for you to tell the whole world how much you loved your mother. You're a good son because you loved your mother so much. See, I'm a very good child. I loved my mother so much. Don't you see I was a good child? Imagine a child who does not cry. Then what would people say? He doesn't even care about the mother. Maybe he's the one who killed her. Actually, if there's a child who doesn't cry at a funeral, people probably report it to the police or something and get the coroner to do an examination and to see whether it was actually murder. Yes, people will suspect all sorts of things. So the best way to hide, even if you did end up... you put the mother to a side. What's the best way to hide that you are not the one who killed the person? Cry. Show that you grieve intensely. The more you cry, the better your alibi is. That's the best evidence that you are very sorrowful, so it could not have been you who pulled the plug. Couldn't have been you, because to be in such a state at someone's death. On dramas and things, have you not seen these things? That's what people do, right? On stage dramas and so on. To pretend that they were none the wiser about the person's death. They are the ones who cry the most. That's why I say that, if you have a funeral in the family, please cry, otherwise they'll suspect you. But when you are at the funeral and you see someone else crying, right, and they were fine, they were sipping their tea or whatever, having a biscuit, and then someone else walked into the room and the whole thing starts again. Like that was the first time they had just come to know that someone's died. And they start again. Ask yourself, what is this person actually trying to say? Isn't that ego? Dirty ego is what I have to do. Dirty, dirty, dirty ego. Cleanse yourselves. Purify yourselves. Come out of this putridness. It's ugly. When you're angry, you're ugly. Haven't people told you that? Haven't people told you that? When you're angry, you're ugly? They were right. I mean it in a different way. I can say that even without looking at your face. When you're angry, you're ugly. I'm talking about ego and what it's trying to do inside you. You have a bigger problem with a lack of acceptance and acknowledgement than you do with actually whatever it is that you take issue with. I'll give you one simple example of this. When someone's angry, what are you supposed to say? Say something you've said or you've done and someone's angry about it, what are you supposed to say? The first rule of customer service? Sorry. Say sorry. Why does that pacify the other person? What do they feel now? That they have been acknowledged. Yeah? What if you ignore them? You ignore them. I mean, whatever's happened has happened. You're not doing it anymore. Okay? So this is what you did to annoy them. They didn't like that sound. So now they're annoyed about that. I don't keep doing this. I don't keep doing that. I've just done it once and now they're really annoyed about it. Right? And they come and raise their complaint. They're raising their grievance with me now. And I just choose to ignore. Am I continuing to do it? No. So then why does the level of anger keep on increasing? What are they looking for? They're not looking for justice because justice has already been served. They're not looking for justice. They're looking for acknowledgement because what we have just done is given them a platform for them to talk about themselves. That's what they have just found, a platform for recognition. That's the nature of ego. I just want you to understand that. None of these words are intended to insult, okay? So, because I don't know whether you are the angriest person on the planet. And you're always shouting at someone. I don't know. And no one's ever told me anything, and please don't tell me from heaven either. So this is not about you or your husband or your wife, right? This was not planned. Just saying. Otherwise I can imagine husbands looking at their wives. Did you tell Swami? No. Nothing, right? Hand on heart. No such thing has happened. I'm just telling you about the nature of ego. I know what ego is like. That's why I say you are no different to the person sat next to you. You are no person to the next. Because ego is a product of ignorance and attachment, right? It's a product of ignorance and attachment in every single mind. Your ego is not created by some other very unique, different kind of causes. That means your ego is a different kind of ego to someone else's ego. No. We could swap your egos and you wouldn't even know it. That's how similar ego is. We could swap your egos and you wouldn't even know it. So then you might ask, well, Swaminatha, then how would I know that I am me? My name? All of those are from memory. That's from memory you know that you are so and so. You are a woman. You are a man. You are this years of age. This is your name. This is where you live. You have these relationships with each other. That's not your ego. Do understand that that's not your ego. Ego simply creates a sense of self, an identity. That identity is fed with vipaka. It's like a wrapper. Nothing in the wrapper is the wrapper itself, is it? But the wrapper is what makes the whole thing an entity. You get that picture, don't you? Imagine we had a bunch of things. This is a pen holder, and there are lots of different pens here. You know that this is a collection of things. But what if you put a wrapper around it? Now it seems like it's one, right? That's what ego does. Ego is not the things inside it. This is all vipaka. This is your name. This is the fact that you are female. This is your age, your education, what you had for breakfast. Those are all from memory. And then you put a wrapper around it. Now the whole thing becomes one. That's how you feel all of this were things that I did, happened to me, belong to me. That's how it happens. It is done in each chitta. Each chitta. Now do you see the gift that the Buddha has given us? Freedom from whom? Freedom from yourself. That's why your fight is never with someone else. Don't pick fights with anybody else. Don't get into arguments, altercations, just let them go, ladies and gentlemen, it's not worth it. If ever someone tries to annoy you, right, just let them have it their way. And just be done with it. When someone tries to annoy you, what they're actually trying to do is to give you a platform for you to get up on that platform and show the whole world that you are you. Don't fall for that. When they try to annoy you, that's what they try to do. Don't fall into that trap. They're digging a hole for you to jump into. Don't fall into that trap. Some people are like that. They like to annoy people. Don't fall into that trap. And again, don't think that they're doing it out of resentment for you. It's not done out of spite. Hurt people. What else do they know to do? You're better than that. You have come into this world for something better than that. You have a greater, bolder, grander ambition. You have come here into this world to become sons and daughters of the Buddha. If you don't see the Buddha as an individual, that's okay. It's because the Buddha was never an individual. The Buddha represents the truth. So you have come to this world to become a son of the truth, a bearer of the truth, a daughter of the truth, meaning a bearer of the truth. Children carry their parents' DNA. Yes? So the truth is what I want to see in your DNA. The truth. I want the truth to be your DNA. The truth to be what you're made out of. Your bodies are already there. Your bodies are true. It's all nature. It's all very natural. Your bodies are all complete nature. So are your minds. But on top of your mind, there's a hijacker. That's what you need to seek freedom from. So, I call ye freedom fighters. All ye freedom fighters. Your fight is an internal battle. So, whatever time you have left between now and the end of this life, at the end of this life, the next life will start. Right? If you are fortunate enough and if you have accumulated enough merits, you will be able to continue that journey. Wherever you are, just continue. Keep going until you come to the end of samsara. If it's in another 1,000 lifetimes, then so be it. If it's in another 1,000,000 lifetimes, then so be it, because you have come many, 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 many millions. What's another 1,000,000? But you must only tell that to yourself if at the end of this life you have not achieved what you are here to achieve. Until then, you should only have one resolve. It is at the end of this life and not the next one. Don't postpone it. Because who's to say whether you will have the merits? Who's to say the Buddha Sasana will prevail at that time? Who's to say that you will have noble association? Who's to say that you will have a community like this? Who's to say? Do you recall what Mahinda Handru said when he came and spoke to you the other day? He said one of his dreams, actually he said his dream, not one of his dreams, he said his dream was to create a community like this in the various nations where he goes to spread the Dhamma, because he understands well and truly that it's the community that makes it happen. So you have the blessing of this community. Embrace it. Use it. Help it propel you forward. Be brethren in the sasana. Give too, yes, that is for the prosperity of the sasana. To thrive, for the sasana to thrive. But what makes the sasana shine, not thrive, but what makes the sasana shine is when you give up for the sasana. That has to happen within you. That cannot be done with anything you have in your possession. That is why when Guru Handro came into the sasana, he gave up everything he had to the sasana. Actually, he gave everything he had to the sasana. He gave his mother to the sasana. He gave his father to the sasana. He gave his brother to the sasana. He gave his wealth to the sasana. Any other material possessions he had and the sasana could make any use of it, he gave that to the sasana. And then finally he gave himself to the sasana. So he has given everything he has to the sasana. Now he is trying to give up for the sasana. That is the ultimate fight. Once you've given up for the sasana, you have given it all. And the reward for that is enlightenment. So what is enlightenment, if you ask me? The answer is, it's when you have given yourself up for the sasana, that is enlightenment. Let's leave it there. It's 11:30, I think. We'll do that practical another time. Stop distracting me. Yes. So next Sunday, the sermon is going to be in the other hall. Because I know there are some who choose to listen to the sermon from home when you know that there's the sermon in this hall, which is understandable, it's a smaller hall. But next week we're going to have it in the other hall. So you can bring your friends and families. But don't bring them for the free sandwich. Bring them out of love, so that they may find the same love that you found here. Okay. Let us all take a moment to transfer the merits that we have all acquired by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, inviting the Swami Master to deliver the sermon, as well as creating a conducive environment for all to come along and practice. Let us take this opportunity to pass all the merits that we have acquired to the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, upasakas and upasikas who have since time immemorial protected and preserved the sublime teachings of the Buddha and passed it down through the generations of the noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, understand and comprehend the Dhamma. Let us take a moment to transfer these merits to all the monks and nuns resident in your local temples and nunneries who have always been by your side through thick and thin, come rain or shine. Let us transfer these merits to the Mahanayakas, the Anunayakas of all of the chapters around the world who have dedicated their lives to prosper for the prosperity of the sasana. Let us also transfer this merits to my teacher, Guru Swami Mahanse, as well as all the monks resident at the monastery and the Anagarikas and Anagarikas attached to the monastery. Let us also take a moment to transfer this message to those who make great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Buddha, be that by translating these talks, sharing them out with others, or inviting others to join them. Let us also transfer this message to friends of the monastery who, for the sake of merits to help them attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana, continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes all of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, alms, robes, and medicines, as well as those who pass on their know-how and continue to extend their well wishes. May they all rejoice in these merits, and by the power of these merits, may they be healed of any physical and mental ailments, and overcoming obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to our mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews, and nieces, our friends, our acquaintances, our employees, and our employees, as well as anyone and everyone who've helped us, supported us, and assisted us in any way, shape, or form. May they all rejoice in these merits, and by the power of these merits, may they also be freed of any physical and mental ailments and overcoming obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer this merits to the Devas and Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as all the numerous gods and deities who have committed themselves to protect and preserve the Sambhuddha Sasana. Let us transfer this merits to our guardian deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer this merits to our forefathers, our ancestors, those who passed away in our name, reminding ourselves that it is in their blood, sweat, and tears today we are able to enjoy the comforts of life and practice the path in peace and harmony. Let us transfer these merits to members of the armed forces, as well as the police force who sacrificed their lives for the peace and harmony of our nation, as well as those who lost their lives in the wars, be their friend or foe, and those who lost their lives in natural disasters and calamities such as tsunamis and earthquakes, landslides, fires, floods, pandemics, and so on. Reminding ourselves that in this infinitely long journey of samsara, they will all have been parents to us, friends to us, acquaintances to us, siblings to us, and so on, and reminding ourselves that out of the gratitude that we have towards all, may we transfer all the merits that we have acquired to all of them. By the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plane, say, redeem themselves, be born in the blissful plane, may they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may by the power and blessings of all the merits we have acquired throughout the day, we will witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of arahants on this blessed land. And finally, may you and I and everyone who has helped make this program a success become an Arahatan Mahanse or Arahat Peran Mahanse, in this life itself and in this era of the Sambuddha Sasana itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all. The members of the Mahasangha will transfer the blessings to you. Raga kinnan nidatva dvesha ginnan nidatva moha ginnan nidatva Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhitattaravetva Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhitattaravetva Mamada siyalu loka siyalu satnayo Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhitattaravetva Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhitattaravetva Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhitattaravetva Raga viniveva dvesha viniveva moha viniveva nivan sapalaveva nivan sapalaveva Nibbāna sapalaveva තුන්රුවන්ගේ සූවිසි අනන්ත මහා ගුණ වලින් සියලු ලෝක සියලු සත්‍යයම නිබ්බාන පරම සුඛයෙන් සුඛතර වෙත්වා සාදු සාදු සාදු